I'm David, one of the co-founders at NextID. It's great to be here today. And we're going to talk about reputation and portability and how we can achieve some really cool stuff with DIDs, decentralized identifiers, and with universal profiles. Before I get into it, hello from New York. It's very cool to be able to greet people so globally all at once. So glad you're here. This is me. And then I'm just going to give you a quick overview of kind of where identity has been in the past and where we are today, and then where we're going in the future. So very quickly, identity in the past looks a lot like credentials issued by centralized institutions, passports, driver's licenses, ID cards. And they allow us to access certain gateways or access certain things like bars or cross borders. They're super useful, super powerful things that are portable with you wherever you go. And these are great identifiers. They're super useful. But as life becomes more and more digital, we need to have really strong ways of transferring that same portability and the same security that we have with our traditional identities onto the internet, because over the last 20 years, we've seen 8% growth in average per capita minutes spent online per person. And so the question becomes, how do we construct these digital selves that to align with our physical selves, or maybe even beyond our physical selves? So people ask often, is a wallet an identity? Kind of. It's an identifier, which is super useful. It's like an email address or a phone number, but it's not really a great identity because wallets are often bound to a single ecosystem or a single chain or a single platform. So not quite an identity, but a very useful identifier. And so an identity we can think more of as a sum or an accumulation of all of these different pieces of our digital self. So our Twitter, our Ethereum address, our other Ethereum address, the gameplay that we have in an on-chain game, the presence that we have in a decentralized social app. Our identity is constituted by the sum or language or connections between those different things, because it's really our footprint or the full extension of our presence online. So before we jump into like the more technical, super interesting stuff, we kind of have these 3 sniff test rules for what's a real great digital identity. And it's something that's sovereign, so meaning that you, person, control everything about it. It's portable, meaning you can go anywhere you want it to go. And this is why we're really excited about DIDs. And it's also super secure. So is it easy to break? Is it easy to steal? And yeah, does it stand those tests? So we at NextID focus on using DIDs, decentralized identifiers, as the connecting or binding fabric between your different pieces of your digital identity. So you could think of it as having an address that is your avatar, and your avatar is used. It's like the glue layer, or it's like the center of your spider web, and it's used to connect all of the things that matter about you into rather than disparate pieces into a holistic digital person. And so what this one of the advantages here is we envision a future. We're going to get into the details on this. We envision a future where you starting to use, we're bringing your credibility from one form or one game or one platform to another is as simple as signing in with your wallet. So we're going to get into that, how that can happen right now. So DIDs are decentralized identifiers. It's a self-issued key pair that is used to sign messages that prove ownership and control of the different things that you own online. So it could be a Twitter account, it could be an email address, it could be a YouTube channel, it could be any number of things. The world is really limitless as you want to decide to use it, as you want to build these things, what pieces you want to pull into your different platforms. So we focus mostly on public information or information that we want to be public or want to constitute our public reputation. We will be building a lot of ZK stuff in the future, all around selective disclosure and credentials, but we're not focused on that quite yet. So you can think of it as like your data identity, as there's the part above the waterline of the iceberg and there's a part below the iceberg. So we focus a lot on above the iceberg, and so we're focusing on public reputation there. There are three primary pieces of NextID. One is the proof service, which is for creating and storing DIDs, and there's the create side of that. And then we have relation service, which is mostly a query service for understanding all of the DIDs that exist out there online across different databases. And it's your read endpoint. And then we package these things up in a really easy to use SDK if you want a little simpler experience that allows you to pull or get any profile that someone has and make that into a universally available profile. So for example, let's say someone has a lens profile and you want to make the sign in for your dApp super simple and fast, and you just want to reuse that lens profile, you can pull it immediately with a single call. So we're going to revisit the identity graph because it really is the most important fundamental piece of how this all works. Again, you're using a DID, which is a key pair, to sign and prove ownership, sign messages to prove ownership of your different addresses, of your different identifiers, or of your different Web 2 or Web 3 accounts. So this is what a real identity graph can look like, and we'll get into a little bit more detail on this later. I just want to show this to you now. And then we're going to jump right into API, our Web3 bio, or universal profile API. So let's make sure that you guys can see this. I hope this should be, yep, this should be working. Perfect, right here. So I wish I had some of you in the audience to actually pull your own ENS addresses, but I would love to do this at the end if we have time. So when you want to look up somebody's ID graph, we're going to take a look at ETHGlobal.eth. I'm going to query that. And we're going to do two things here. First, we're going to visualize the ID graph and see all of the different component pieces of that. So we see everything from GitHub bound together with Reddit, to an Ethereum address, to a bunch of different ENS handles, and then a lens profile. Super cool view. The next thing that we're actually going to take a look at is that lens profile. So voila, this is what you can get for any lens user, any Farcaster user. You can just pull it immediately. And this is super cool because now when somebody's using your dApp for the first time, their profile that they've built and curated and crafted to be their public, one of their public personas, can come with them immediately and without any additional effort or work, or connecting their Twitter account again or something like that. And then we also use a couple of APIs to pull in different NFT collections and POAPs. We're totally happy to connect you with those teams and help you get set up with those as well to really create super rich, portable, holistic, full profiles. So the next thing we're going to talk about is a little bit more in detail of how this works. So you have your avatar key pair that you're using, the signing method of your wallet, or a public message punched into Discord. For GitHub, there's a public gist use. And then for Twitter, we're actually using something called a proof tweet. And the way that works is there's a special string that's shared from that account that is then ingested by the NextID system to say, did this super special string that verifies ownership of this account and proves that the signature is correct. Did it all check out okay? If so, that bond will be created between the signing address and the Twitter account. Where does this all live? It is stored in Arweave, and then so it's publicly available. There's no single point of failure. Also, we work off of Amazon Aurora, so you have APIs that are actually really fast to use, and then it gets backed up every small bit of time onto Arweave. So you can actually pull it, use it, do whatever you want with it, or you can have the super simple, easy experience of using our APIs. So right now we're handling about 45 million API calls a week and hundreds of thousands of actives. So we look forward to welcoming you to that family as well. But the only reason I highlight this isn't to say we're great. It's to say that these systems are already at a point where they are scalable, where they are in use, and they're stable enough to do whatever you can throw at them. There is a second tier of the API. So you will get rate limited if you don't have an API key on our APIs. And if you need high capacity stuff, totally just reach out to us in our Telegram community. We're super responsive there for all dev support. And we're more than happy to help sort that out. And we just want to get you set up and make sure that you're doing stuff as efficiently and as possible. So back to relation service, we're actually seeing the relation service queried with this web3.bio interface. And the next thing I'll go into is the actual API for this service. So this hopefully is pretty simple. We're totally happy to answer questions about it as much as you need in chat. All of our developers, again, are super active there. But what we've designed here with Web3.bio is a front end or a set of APIs for our relation service. So all of the DIDs, all of the identity data that's out there, we want you to be able to access it easily. And so you have this set of tools. So whenever you want somebody's a lens profile, an ENS profile, if you want all profiles, there's super simple get calls. So we have .bit, Farcaster, Lens, ENS, and you can get all of them at once as well. Again, there's code samples here. It's really hopefully pretty straightforward. If it's not, we absolutely want to hear precisely why it's difficult, because we really care about your experience and we want to make it better. So every bit of that feedback or every frustration that you have, please do let us know. The last thing that I'll jump into here before I wrap up is our docs. So there's a lot of information here. I'm sure everyone always says, just look at the docs. We're actually happy if you just ask us questions too. Read the docs, ask us questions. But we have overviews for all of the core concepts that we talked about today, detailed breakdowns of what is proof service, why is it designed this way, how do I attach data to it, what if I want storage, and what if I want to have like a data package that comes with this DID for this dApp that I'm building to actually build, attach maybe a social graph to an identity. So now that my social graph can come with me along with my profile information to any new social app. Or what if I want some sort of history of gaming accomplishments, because we're really excited about games right now. What if I want my history of gameplay attached to my identity so that when I go from, let's say, Call of Duty to, Gears of War, that credibility, that reputation, or that story of my accomplishments can come with me, and we can have some cross-platform presence. Well, that would be super cool, especially with all the cool on-chain games that I know some of you are working on. The next thing we have is really detailed breakdown of all of our data sources for relation service, all of our GraphQL code snippets, and again, there's some other stuff here. Please do have a look. We're really excited to see what you're working on. We're always inspired by the things that you're building. And we're also super happy to just brainstorm with you. This is a hackathon. We're all here to experiment. So if you have ideas or you're not sure what's possible with this toolkit, hopefully you have a few more ideas today. But we are, again, totally happy to work with you at any and all phases of this process. Here's one example of how a, I guess, social graph could look, where you have some on-chain data, you have a record of a connection of avatar A following avatar B on Farcaster, and then let's say somebody logs into Newcaster, and then that data becomes portable there. Yeah, that's it for today.